Okay, let's dive right into this explainer and honestly, let's completely shatter the illusion of what wealth actually looks like. I mean, we all have this picture in our heads, right? Millionaires lounging in marble-floored mansions, decked out in designer clothes, driving European sports cars. But the actual data? It tells a completely different story. Today, we're exposing the specific and, frankly, kind of boring list of purchases that genuinely wealthy people flat out refuse to make. To really get why this matters, just look at this contrast. It is wild. While total U.S. credit card debt just blew past $1.25 trillion, with the average household carrying over $9,000 in revolving balances at a crazy 21% interest, a 2025 Empower study found something fascinating. 62% of everyday millionaires are still out there budgeting, shopping for deals, and actively avoiding extravagant lifestyles. Meanwhile, nearly half of Americans earning over $100,000 a year say they're living paycheck to paycheck. So the people with the most money are actually spending the least to show it. So we're going to break down the 12 specific things genuinely wealthy people refuse to buy into in 5 core shifts: the great wealth illusion, escaping the status trap, the cost of fear, the lifestyle creep danger, and finally, buying freedom, not opinions. Kicking things off with Section 1, the great wealth illusion. We really need to break our assumptions about what rich actually looks like, because if we want to understand how the wealthy keep their money, we have to stop looking at the people who are just pretending to have it. Now, this is actually super fascinating. You know those flashy BMW and Mercedes commercials? Yeah, those aren't even in the top 5 for actual millionaires. When researchers surveyed over 10,000 real millionaires, their top 3 car brands were Toyota, Honda, and Ford. Think about that for a second. Even Jeff Bezos, right? He drove a Honda Accord for years before his net worth hit $200 billion. And that brings us right to our core theme. The visibly wealthy, they're often, well, living paycheck to paycheck. They are performing prosperity, usually heavily leveraged in debt to pull it off. But the actually wealthy are quietly building their portfolios. They know that buying a shiny new object on credit is the exact opposite of investing. Moving right along to Section 2, escaping the status trap, or rejecting the incredibly high cost of looking rich. Because this right here is where the middle class bleeds out the most wealth, entirely by choice. Look, a $50,000 watch tells time the exact same way a $50 Casio does. Literally, the exact same way. That massive premium, it just buys you a ticket to conspicuous consumption. The wealthy just refuse to pay a 400 to 500% markup on designer brands just to wear someone else's logo. Real wealth buys for durability and fit, not for evidence. When every single piece of your outfit is designed to scream, "Hey, look at my money," it just reads as desperate. Real wealth never has to try that hard. So it really boils down to this. One of these choices buys a rapidly depreciating signal, while the other quietly buys you freedom. With average new car payments crossing $1,000 a month right now, the wealthy see a brand new black BMW as a massive liability. It's money that will never, ever compound. On the flip side, they see a paid-off, slightly older beige Camry as the exact tool that allowed them to build a $1 million portfolio in the first place. So the wealthy entirely reject these 3 huge status cycles. They treat clothes as things meant to last, and phones as literal tools to be used until they just stop working. Take the annual phone upgrade ritual. Between the top-tier models and all the new accessories, you're looking at a $1,500 annual wealth transfer. Genuinely wealthy people, they'll use their phones for 5, maybe 7 years, until the battery completely dies or security updates stop. They know that replacing a perfectly functional tool just because a new color dropped makes absolutely zero mathematical sense. Okay, let's hit Section 3, the cost of fear. This is all about escaping bad math and financial fantasies. It's about prioritizing cold logic over emotional sales pitches. Now, the insurance industry absolutely hates this math, but it's the truth. Genuinely wealthy people buy cheap term insurance and invest the difference directly into index funds. Whole life insurance is aggressively pitched to high earners as this great wealth-building tool, but after the steep fees and the salesperson's commissions are pulled out, the actual returns are a dismal 2 to 4%. Buying term insurance and putting the rest in an S&P 500 index fund gives you full control, and historically, it creates 2 to 4 times more wealth. It's a no-brainer. Then we have the math tax. Retailers push extended warranties because they're wildly profitable for the store, not for you. The wealthy choose to self-insure. Instead of paying a 20% premium for a warranty they have maybe a 5% chance of actually using, they just toss that money into an emergency fund. And the lottery? That is essentially a voluntary tax on bad math. It just sells a 5-day fantasy. Just think about this. If you invested just $20 a week into the S&P 500 instead of buying lottery tickets, you'd have nearly $100,000 in 30 years. Warren Buffett calls this sticking to your circle of competence. And honestly, this explains exactly why the genuinely wealthy totally skipped the crypto and meme stock crazies. The fake rich love to chase whatever the current narrative is selling, taking huge risks in spaces they can't even explain to you. The wealthy might look boring keeping their cash in broad index funds, but guess what? They avoid those catastrophic portfolio-wiping losses entirely. Which brings us to Section 4, the lifestyle creep danger. These are the hidden leaks in a high earner's budget, the silent killers that leave people making $300,000 a year feeling totally and completely broke. It really all comes down to a concept called hedonic adaptation, and it perfectly explains that trap of buying a bigger house every 5 years. You get a raise, you buy a bigger house. 2 years later, another raise, boom, a kitchen remodel. Your income just doubled, but your lifestyle soaked up every single extra dollar. The catch is, after about 90 days, that shiny new luxury just becomes your standard baseline, a baseline that now costs you $10,000 a month just to maintain. To combat this, the wealthy use the fixed lifestyle principle. The idea is simple. When your income goes up, your lifestyle stays flat. By doing this, the difference between someone who fixes their lifestyle and someone who lets it creep up can easily exceed $2 million over 25 years. If you make $65,000 and live on $55,000, you're investing $10,000 a year. But if your income jumps to $100,000 and you just keep your lifestyle flat at 55, you suddenly have $45,000 a year flowing straight into compound growth. That right there is the secret sauce. And guys, the subscription economy, it is a silent wealth killer. We all grossly underestimate how much we're bleeding out to streaming, software, and delivery apps every single month. The average American guesses they spend about $86 a month on this stuff, but the actual number, a staggering $219. Between 4 different video streaming apps, cloud storage, music, fitness, food delivery, that adds up to $2,600 a year just vanishing from your account. The wealthy flat out refuse to pay what's basically a tax on inattention. They aggressively cut these recurring leaks because they know that tiny fees absolutely destroy massive compounding potential. A $35 overdraft fee paid a few times a year, that costs you thousands in lost growth over your career. And timeshares? Oh man, they are a brutal trap. A family will drop nearly $70,000 over 30 years on a timeshare. If they had just invested that money instead, it would have grown to over $600,000. Genuinely wealthy people walk away from any quote-unquote investment that loses value the second you sign the contract. Finally, we arrive at Section 5, buying freedom, not opinions. This is the 12th and ultimate refusal, and it's the single underlying philosophy that ties all these habits together. Think about this. Optimizing your financial decisions around what some total stranger thinks of you at a red light will literally rob you of nearly half your potential wealth. The fake rich filter every dollar through external perception. Will this impress my neighbors? Will the barista recognize this logo? But the genuinely wealthy, they just ask, does this move me toward freedom? Does this actually align with my values? And that brings us to the ultimate takeaway here. Looking rich is without a doubt the single most expensive thing you can buy, because the true cost is the financial freedom you had to sacrifice to get it. Every dollar you spend maintaining an image is a dollar subtracted from the portfolio that gives you real, actual choices in life. The fake rich spend their entire lives chasing approval from people who will forget them in seconds. But the wealthy know that real wealth whispers. It's the absence of stress, not the presence of luxury. So I want to leave you with this one super powerful question to think about. When you look at your own budget right now, which of these 2 paths are you actively funding? The beautiful thing here is that this pattern is totally reversible at any age. Whether you're 25 or 55, you can decide today to stop projecting wealth and start actually building it. So, are you going to keep buying signals for strangers, or are you ready to start buying back your own time? Think about that as you review your spending this month.